The artists blame Boris Johnson for not having negotiated an agreement allowing them to travel in the European Union without a visa. Lyrical singer decorated with the highest British distinctions, Sarah Connolly, does not take offense against the consequence of Brexit, which turns European tours into a headache for musicians and jeopardizes the careers of young artists. She said, "I think we have the right to be angry," storms the mezzo-soprano, who is angry with the British government for not having negotiated an agreement allowing musicians to go to the European Union without a visa. "I proudly flown the British flag in all of these places," she says. "It's a shame that our government is not proud of us." Since the end of the Brexit transition period on January 1st, British artists must obtain a visa to stay for more than 30 days in the European Union, a precious sesame that sometimes costs hundreds of pounds and involves heavy administrative battles. The procedures become particularly heavy for groups comprising several musicians and technical teams. This severely affects the youngest of poor means and without administrative support, who until then could tour European stages and festivals without any formality. At 57, Sarah Connolly has already sung in the most prestigious opera houses in the world, but she believes that it would have been impossible without having been able to occur abundantly in Europe. For Deborah Annetz, director of the professional body Incorporated Society of Musicians, the lack of specific provisions for artists is a source of growing concern. She says, "I have the impression that we have all been forgotten," and she explained that to AFP, facing the two parties who throw the ball at each other. The UK believes that the fault lies with the European Union for having shown itself inflexible in their negotiations at the end of 2020. The EU recalls that London precisely wanted with Brexit to put an end to free movement of European citizens on its territory. And that is just another funny thing. It's inflexible if you don't give the other side what they want without them being reciprocal. That is another show of a certain mindset we see since 2015. And before, that was the whole reason for leaving, because this exceptionalism, give me what we want, the rest can do what they want, but we want what we want, no matter how many others are involved. That led to Brexit. And now they are still trying the same thing. And they failed before. They had to leave to do that. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson last week said he shared the artist's frustration, was working hard to resolve the issue with the various governments of the 27 EU members. Some negotiations are much more advanced than others, he explained, adding that for others there's still room for improvement. For the moment, the devastating effects of this new policy are masked by the halt that the COVID-19 pandemic put on the cultural sector. But Deborah Annetz warns of the cultural change taking place. British musicians are now considered problematic, she said, fearing enormous consequences for the British creative sector. In terms of UK outreach, I don't think this can be underestimated. Dave O'Higgins, jazz saxophonist accustomed to tours in Europe, says this new situation rhymes with uncertainty. Holder of an Irish passport, this musician based in London is not directly concerned by the need for visa to travel to the EU, but the new situation will notably affect the way he will be paid and the possibility of self-derivative products on the sidelines of concerts. But above all, the travel problem remains unresolved for the other members of his current group. And he says, "I'm going to have to share their fate," explains the musician, known for having been part of the band Matt Bianco in the 1980s. With the increase in paperwork, administrative costs, and possibly individual visas for each country, not possibly, it's that way, this could make touring in Europe unprofitable, he laments. At 56, Dave O'Higgins is especially concerned about the impact this situation will have on the new generation, saying he is desperately sad for young British artists affected first by the pandemic, then by the fallout from Brexit. The fees for obtaining a visa are sometimes higher than the fee allocated for a first recital on the continent, underlines the lyric tenor Nicky Spence, deeming the situation very difficult financially for young people. The opportunities are already very rare. That's why we work with passion, said the Scotsman. But it shouldn't be that hard trying to have that career. And to be honest, it is part of the decision that the majority of voters for Brexit made. And that is what it means leaving the single market and leaving the European Union. And we have to get used to a lot of these examples. And the negotiations, if I would be an advisor for a government, I wouldn't advise to allow this. Because that's another exception for one small sector and all the other people are being punished by this decision. That would be wrong from my point of view. Maybe you see it differently, then you can put it in the comments. I will see that definitely. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.